Hello, folks. Sorry for the delay. I'm having all sorts of issues. I bought a new computer and it won't see my camera for some reason, and the reason I had to update was this old one just keeps crashing. So we'll see how we go. What I'm going to do today is basically um, just do Q&A. So let's. Someone's here. G'day, bird and plant nerds. I'm going to be a bit at sea today because I had everything all set up for the new computer, but it won't see the camera, so I don't know what's what. Anyway, I am basically going to throw it over to you for Q&A today because I've been messing around with this for a couple of days, and you don't want to hear the tales of woe, but it means I haven't done the planning that I would have liked to have done. So here's your opportunity to do any kind of Q&A with a horticulturist about garden design, or plant selection, or perhaps some of the things that I spoke with Alex Lees about earlier in the week, about what we need to consider if we are bringing wildlife into the garden and feeding them, offering any kind of food to them. So there we are, Q&A. So if we don't get any questions, it's not going to be a very long session. So if you're, and I know there's some people here, so let's just see what comes out. I don't want to waste your time by just babbling today, while I look out at a blackbird that is coming into the garden. So, all right, what have we got? Martin, how are you? Good of you to be here, buddy. Got any questions, Martin? Because I really haven't prepared because I've been hours yesterday and hours today trying to sort out this new computer that's supposed to be plug and play, but it just won't work with this camera. So get me back into plant space or something. Well, how about Martin? I'll ask you something. Have you bought any plants in the last little while? And if you have, what did you get? Shane, how are you? Hi, Shane. How are you driving and watching a stream at the same time? That sounds terribly, terribly unsafe. Um, but good on you. Good on you for for doing that. Um, Look, guys, I have planned sort of a long series of streams on Tuesday, provided everyone confirms that they're coming in for Nut to the Cup. So I'm going to do. I have prepared sort of a list of really good performing plants for certain regions and certain purposes in the garden that I'll run through then. But Martin, or okay, Martin, here we go. Potted all your plants, considering getting some blood and bone for extra results. Yeah, be careful with blood and bone. It's really easy to overdo it. If you're talking about natives, and particularly if you're talking Proteaceae like Grevillea, Hakea, Banksia, Dryandra, Floydia, any of those, and of course Proteas if you've got if you bought any proteas, leucodendrons, anything like that, go half the recommended rate. And if you want quick, quick results, this is what I always used to do. I would mix up. I would mix up like a bucket that's about 9 litres, and I would put half of what is recommended for whichever fertiliser in the water, and then dunk your plant, the whole pot, in the water until it's totally wet, and take it out. That will get the quickest infusion of the nutrients into the plant. I used to go out to nurseries and buy really old, tired and, sad looking ones. Sometimes nurseries have got like the $1 table of everything where they try and sell it before they dump it. I would then do a hard prune usually on everything and do this treatment. And then if I had a shade house or a igloo, I would pop them in there for a few days and then go and plant them out. And then when you plant them out, you can tip the solution from the bucket in as the watering in water. Martin, tell me with the plants that you've potted, and think about your history as a gardener. What's your strike rate like? What's your success rate like for the plants that you have purchased and then put into your garden or into your containers, depending on where you're doing it? And also, do either of you propagate? Shane, if you've got someone driving, you can get them to say, yes, I propagate, or no, I don't propagate. And if you haven't, can't you get Siri or the Google to do it, to tell me? High tech. Yeah. So. What other hints can I give you for just starting off plants? I reckon the most important thing, there's 2 really important things when you're planting. One is having good drainage, and 2, mulching. Make sure you've got, and there are so many types of mulch you can use. I mean, you can use old cardboard boxes as a mulch, tear them up to appropriate size and pop them down, then put some mulch, some lawn clippings or something over the top. Lawn clippings are sometimes not a benefit at all, because if they haven't started rotting down, they actually draw nitrogen out of the soil for that decomposition to occur. So they actually will starve the plant before they start feeding the plant again. So lawn clippings is only really good if it's already been put in the compost. Or same with leaf litter. You really want leaf litter that has started the decomposition process. So Martin, Shane, questions. I don't want to waste your time because I haven't prepared, but I am happy to take questions at any time about anything to do with plants. Maybe a good... it was Frog Week, or it is still Frog Week, I think, today and tomorrow. I've got some frog stuff coming up to go along with the rest of the water stuff. All right, Martin's telling us success rate. Success rate is usually pretty good. I've been gardening. All right, you're going to have to tell me what you mean by you had to kickstart memory. Like, does that mean you sort of haven't been doing much gardening in recent years, but you have in the past, and you've had to draw down deep into your recesses of the memory for what's the best way to do things? Most of it's pretty common sense, I reckon. I always found that in horticulture. I was always amazed at how many people didn't apply common sense to basic horticultural practices. Plants need light, they need water, they need appropriate nutrients, and they need an appropriate place for their roots to get those nutrients. And if you can provide all of them, you'll usually get the fairly good results. Now, some plants don't need a lot of light, so if you put them in too much light, that's detrimental. Some plants need a lot of light, and if you put them in a place where they don't get enough, that's detrimental. Some plants don't want too much water. It's all pretty common sense. If you can learn a little bit about each of the plants, you can generally select a good spot. Have you done now, Martin? I'm terrible at remembering. I really need to use one of my whiteboards just to write what each of you have told me about your situation. Actually, I might do that when I rejig the office / bedroom / studio. I might do that. I might actually start a separate whiteboard for habitat gardening. Have you tested your soil? Have you done a rough pH test on your soil? Do you know the type of soil that you've got? Do you have sandy soil? Do you have a loamy soil? Do you have a high percentage of clay? And also your water. Is your water... it's good idea. It's always good to know what the pH of your water source is, because if it's not 7, which is neutral, then each time you use it, you're either adding alkalinity or so you're either adding on the pH scale to the soil or reducing it, acidity. You're increasing the acidity depending on what your pH of your water is, and that can also mean that there's some dissolved nutrients or suspended nutrients in your water too. So depending if you're on tank water. Anyway, these are just little things that it's good to know, because it then helps you make the right decision when either selecting plants or selecting fertilizers that you might use. But hey, it's always better if you don't need to use fertilizers. If you pick the right plant for the right spot, particularly Australian plants, you generally don't need to apply fertilizers. Okay, so newcomers, people just come in. I'm at a disadvantage today. I bought a new computer. It arrived. It's taken me days to set up properly, but it's still not seeing my camera. So I haven't got today's show as I had wanted to do. Haven't got it prepared. So we're really doing Q&A. Throw anything at me for horticultural issues, and we'll see if there's something that I can answer quickly. Make sure you're subscribed on either YouTube or Facebook, because I'm going to do an extra session on Cup Day, which is this Tuesday, so that we can delve into more using water in the garden, and more particularly attracting frogs and reptiles. People don't usually think about bringing reptiles into the garden. I also wondered, you can tell me in the comments whether you think this is a good idea. What about if once a month I select someone, and we'll do that by maybe people can send me an email with what their next project is, what they would like to do, and I'll select someone and we'll actually go through and do either a basic design, or we'll do a plant selection list, or maybe if it's solving a particular problem, but we'll do something practical and useful for someone each month. Let me know if that's something you would be interested in, or would you just rather me getting on and just doing a sort of presentation, a talking head presentation, on top of the going out and making little short videos out in the field. Now, what can I tell you that I've noticed around here recently? All the birds are breeding again here. The crested pigeons and spotted doves are going for it again. So there must be a lot of food around. But I haven't really noticed that many of the local plants, apart from the eucalypts being in flower. I haven't seen a whole lot of berries around for the plants like the blackbirds. So that tells me there must be lots of insect and arthropods, creepy crawlies, bugs. There must be lots of those around. Martin, good. What have you told? I saw the word Eremophila. I'm very interested straight away. Okay, small cuttings are taking off well. Eremophila are going okay, but in a cheap potting mix. Have flowered and attracted birds at only 50 centimetres high. That sounds to me like you have Eremophila glabra. Would that be right? Or no, Eremophila or maculata. They adapt pretty well to most soils. When you say you've got a cheap potting mix, is that like the budget one, the $3 a bag mix? Because depending on which one you've got, there's particular problems. They can compact and settle in the pots. So once you've got the plants going, I would really quickly pot them up into the next size or two sizes up with a real quality, potting mix. And always with natives, always get the native potting mix. Or get, there's no such thing as a really good budget potting mix, I don't think. So it's always, if you're going to spend $6.95 a bag, you may as well spend $8.95 or $9 a bag for the really good. Is that still the price, by the way? It's so long since I've bought one. Let me just have a look. I'll do the Bunnings thing. Well, we'll get it. I should do Plants Plus or something like that, but let's have a look. Potting mix. So long since I've bought a bag. I'm going to order half a pallet soon, though. Potting mix. Nothing's happening. Come on, Bunnings. Okay, what have we got? Garden Basics at $4.98. Premium Scott's Premium Osmocote $9.28. I would be looking. Are they still doing Debco or don't they do? Oh, here we go. Scott's Native. Gee, wow, $12.98. Geez, they're ripping you off there, aren't they? For how many is that? At 25 litre. Wow. Okay, that's expensive. I'm only seeing Garden Basics. I wonder if that's the Yates brand nowadays, the home brand. Rich Grow. All the Yates small ones are in there. The 10 litre ones are in there. 25 litre. Oh, gee. Wow. Okay. Well, there's far less potting mixes than I remembered in being ranged in Bunnings. That shows you how long since I've been in there. Okay, that makes it very expensive to do it. So I would probably look at getting a basic one and then adding my own Osmocote or similar in the native mix. Now, when the flower, Martin, let's explore that. Flowering but died off. At what stage? Maculata times race mosa. Okay, I don't know that particular cross. And Martin, Callistemon citrinus. Now, when you say lily pilly is when you said it's expensive, are you talking about the potting mix? Callistemons can grow in virtually anything. The Callistemon citrinus is such a great plant for most situations. Martin, give us some information about the dying off. Does it get to the budding stage where it's producing the flower buds and then they're dying off, or is it getting further along? Can you actually recognise flowers and then dying off? Yeah, potting mix is expensive. Okay, good. And when they're dying off, are you noticing anything with the leaf tips or the leaf edges? They can give you a clue of what the cause is. And Eremophilus can be susceptible to getting too wet, too much water. So, always good with Eremophilus when you're watering them to let them dry right out before you water them again, and perhaps water a little bit less than you think they might need. So yeah, let me know about what you noticed about the dying off. That can give a clue of what is to blame. I want to show off the lovely white-cheeked honeyeater in the background there, by the way. Oh, look at that! We've gone 20 minutes already, and I had nothing to talk about. It's always easy to talk about gardening. Always easy. I'll also tell you there's a couple of bird emergency podcasts just about to drop. That's coming up, and Cup Day is the next thing I've got lined up. Okay. After transplanting, one flowered, the other stopped. Now you'll have to give us a bit more info about stop flowering. Did they actually produce the buds and attempt to open? And did they die off? Did they drop off? Quite often transplanting shock can happen like that. I like to, it depends on the plant, but often I like to, after the transplanting, wait until the shock is over. So if you start to see new shoots, I'll often just prune back to a bud or two behind where the new shoots are, and then that will delay the new shoots coming out, which means before the shoot, hopefully the transplant shock is over by the time the new shoots come out, because of course the new shoots are the most tender, and most susceptible to any kind of dying off. So Martin tells me they flowered normally, then gradually stopped. Well, probably need a few more clues to tackle that. Yeah. Did you put them into a native? No, you put them into a budget mix, didn't you? That's a budget potting mix. Did you do anything other than blood and bone? Tell me your cultivation regimen. See if we can pick a problem. Yeah, I'm thinking, Martin, you've hit the nail on the head. Maybe nutrition, as it was a cheap mix. I think that could be it. Blood and bone takes a long time to be available unless you do the soaking thing, as I said, because it's actually animal product that has to be um, decomposed. Yeah. So, and sometimes blood and bone does not actually have the nutrients the plants need for flowering. So that's where a complete fertilizer is a good idea. And I always try not to fertilize. I prefer to always try and use compost and um, you know wood chips and things like that that you can get that you can collect from your own garden or from other people's. But uh, that that would be the first thing I would suggest. What you might want to do, Martin, if the plants are looking really healthy, or if they look like they've recovered now, do a light tip prune. Do a light tip prune. Um, Use a slow release native blend fertilizer. Uh, Again, I always like to do half as much twice as often rather than doing a heap at once. Because a lot of native plants are really susceptible to toxicity. So I I would do a really light tip prune, uh, and when you're doing a tip prune, depending on the plant, Aeromophilas, yeah, generally go to a prune back to a bud, just above a bud. Um, if it's one of the varieties where there's a lot of needle like leaves coming out around the stem, don't worry, just come back a centimetre or two. Uh, if it's just a light tip prune all over, and that can stimulate the um, doing a tip prune actually stimulates uh, the the flowing of the hormones that anyway the auxins up the stem, and that may stimulate more flowering. Um, may but what you really want to do is get just getting the plant actively growing after the the transplant shock. If you can, if the root balls in the plant has consolidated enough, don't do this if it's still all really loose. But if you can, and you can just tap the plant out of the container, and if you can see that there's nice healthy white root tips right to the edge of the plant, right to the end of the root ball, um, or right to the end of the media, uh, that shows that it's actively growing. If you're not getting those tips, those really fresh white exploratory root tips out to the end, um, maybe the plant is still in shock, and you just need to put it in a fairly protected spot out of hot winds. A bit of part shade, help it along, help it to recover. Yeah, that's the best I can do with that. Um, Blood and Bone I always found was really good for broadcasting in in garden beds generally. And when using Blood and Bone, I would usually apply it. I'd scrape mulch back, apply Blood and Bone, and then put the mulch back on top. But I didn't usually use Blood and Bone on container plants. I tended to use either any of the fish emulsion kind of Charlie Carp kind of things, or the Prills, Nutricoat, Osmocoat. I don't know what they're all called nowadays, but just the little Prills, slow release. And if you're talking Australian native plants, always use the native, uh, the native type of fertilizer. If you're using any of the other fertilizers, for crying out too, never buy the cheap all-purpose fertilizer that is a couple of dollars for a small bag or something like that. Never get that for natives. Um, that's for your introduced non-native, really common in cultivation kind of plants. Don't put that stuff on natives. You're almost certainly to do a toxicity, kill something with kindness. Okay. Callistemons citrinus. Have you got any other callistemons, Martin? It's a great time of the year down here for callistemons. They're either all in flower, and some, like the Callistemon salignus, have just finished. Callistemons, highly adaptive, super adaptive plants. After they've flowered, if you want to get a second flush, prune back to directly behind the flower heads, and you may get a second flush. That's good husbandry for the callistemons anyway. Melaleuca's the same. They can take a good one. Oh, I've got a different blackbird now. They like that little spot outside the window. Nice and shady, but lots of leaf litter from the mandarin, and it's also where the worm farm drips out too. So maybe that's just healthy soil and they like it. Yeah. Okay. Oh, hello, Facebook. We've got some Facebooks along with YouTubes at the moment. Oh, and that's the male blackbird this time. Interesting. Any other questions? Any other comments? Anything you'd like me to take on board? And what do you think of the idea of maybe once a month doing a practical design or problem solving for someone based on the information that they give me, or if it's possible, maybe get out on site as well, and walk through some real problems and see what we can fix up. I'd be right into that. Let me know. Right. I'm going to see what plants Bunnings have got while I've got this open. Compost, fertiliser, more options. Garden. There got to be more. Okay, let's just go to garden, see if they've got any plants on their website. No, not seeing any plants. What about if I put plants in the... what if I put native plants in? What will I say? Oh, here we go. Australian native plants. Hydrangea plants, pigface plants, ground cover plants. Let's see, what have we got? Holy moly, 8-inch plants for $24. Grevillea Robin Gordon's $23. Holy moly. Philotheca myoporoides in a 6-inch pot for $13. Oh wow, it's so long since I've been out buying plants. Wow, that's scary. All right, we're going to have to talk about propagation a bit more, I think, too. Okay, any other questions, folks? Sorry if you popped in at 9:30 and were waiting for me then. I just could not get the camera to talk to each other, so I've had to go back to the old computer for this morning, and so I'm going to have to get this working properly, and maybe this will have to be the streaming computer until the other one works. Anyway, any other questions? If not, good. Martin's telling me he does propagate to save. Yeah, really, really good. I'll Yeah, we haven't really talked much habitat today. Um, yeah, I might have a frog person to talk to us next week too. Now that Frog Week has well, it will be over by then. Um, so we might talk a little bit about what we need to do to ensure the happy and safe habitation of frogs and tadpoles in your garden. Uh, so I'll just hang on just a few more minutes and see if you've got any other questions or comments. I'm really interested if you like the idea of doing some practical um, problem solving so that we can use somebody from the audience use their situation as sort of a guide and maybe a prompt for for some other people. I think it's always a bit more helpful rather than just going somewhere and say, "Hey, here's somewhere that's really, really, really good, and this is the really, really good things about it." Yes. Now, Martin, that is an Martin has just made a comment. He saw an interesting video on quick opening of grevillea pods and sprouting use of blowtorch and water. I can tell you what I have done that helps with grevilleas. Generally, if I've got grevillea seeds still in pods, for one, they're probably going to end up looking like hybrids, depending on where they've been collected from. Because it's often easy if you're going to do, because a lot of native plant seeds need to have the replication of the experience of being in a fire for them to successfully germinate. So I used to put them in paper bags on a tray in the oven and then put the oven on really low and put them in for a number of hours. Not too hot, because otherwise you can cook them. You don't want that. The other way is to use the smoke water or vermiculite, which is infused with smoke water, and use that as the overlay when you are sowing seeds in a seedling tray. They work really, really well. The other way I've done with grevilleas and also with banksias is when I lived somewhere where there was lots of old banksia branches and things that I could easily collect, I would make a very low temperature fire with lots of smoke. I actually had an old combustion stove that I sat above this, and I would make the fire under there, and I would put the seeds in that, open the door, and put an old sack over it so the smoke would just fill into this old combustion stove, and do that for a number of hours too. But for most purposes now, there we are. Okay, Banksia pods. Yeah, I wondered about that. Yeah. So for Banksia pods, it's really easy. Not many people have got access to a blowtorch, so I just think the oven is a good one there, or smoking them. But for Banksias, you need to get the pod to open, so an oven is really good for that. But for germination, the vermiculite infused with smoke water, or buying the smoke water concentrate. And let me just check. You used to be able to get it from Nindathana. Let me just see if you still can. Just wait. Wait with me just a second. I'll put in smoke water. Okay, smoke infused vermiculite. Looks like it's still there. Okay. They call it Regen 2000, and you can buy it. Okay, it's $40 for a kilogram. You can buy it in, looks like 100-gram lots as well. Yeah. So I've used that with really good success. I'd be really careful about because it's quite pricey. That's when you want to be doing your propagation in like maybe little punnet pots and doing one or two seedlings in each pot, and the smallest possible pot you can do, so that you can get the best value out of your smoke infused vermiculite. But yeah, if you've got the means, you could make your own. You could just buy. Excuse me. You could just buy basic vermiculite, and if you could rig it up, you could actually do the smoke infusion yourself. But I would think it's probably just easier to purchase it at a kilo at a time or something, depending on how much propagation you're doing. Yeah, that's right. Nothing is cheap anymore. That is correct. As I found out when I went to buy some soy milk yesterday, boy oh boy, just in the last 2 weeks, I've hiked up the price of my favourite soy milk. Yeah, a lot of yeah, bad news. Well, it sounds like I should do some maybe some demonstrations on. Wasn't really where I saw this little segment going into propagation, and I really thought that this would be more about selection and sort of cultivation techniques, but propagation might be really, really good. I actually collected some Banksia integrifolia from that had been dumped on around the corner in the street, and it's a really good. The plant it comes from is really spreading quite low individuals, so it's really good to get cuttings from. If you see a really good plant that you like the shape of, if you can get cuttings on them, you know that it's going to be pretty much the same plant. It is the same plant. Yeah. So, all right. Well, again, just waiting. Any other question or comment? Oh, there's a different blackbird. That one's just going through a molt. Oh, it's a young bird molting into adult female plumage. Okay. Very popular, that part of the garden this morning. Unfortunately, it's only popular with blackbirds. They're throwing the leaf litter everywhere. All right, maybe I'll have to order in some smoke infused vermiculite. I wonder, do they have smoke water still? You used to be able to buy that from places. No, there's none there. Let me Google that. Let me close out that one too. Smoke water for cultivation. For germination. Here we go. Smoke water 500 mil. So it's available 15 bucks for 500 mil. Oh, here we go. Here's a different smart. Oh, you can buy it in 1 litre, 5 litre, or 20 litre. Where's that from? Oh, it must be available. 5 litre. Oh, 5 litre is 30 $37. 20 litre is $100, and you'd have to pay freight on top of that. Uh, okay, they only supply the 20 litre into Adelaide. So 5 litres. 5 litres was how much? $37 plus $30. $30 in freight Australia wide. Dilute 100 ml to 1 litre. Soakers above. Okay. Yeah, I think I'd go the vermiculite, I think, because then you're in control. Yeah, but anyway, that's options. So the question was out there: would you like me to do design or problem solving for people's real life situations? Martin, those that smoke water, they will freight Australia wide. The vermiculite, they freight Australia wide. That they come from Perth. The vermiculite comes from Perth. Best way to deal with that is I'll put these resources on thebirdemergency.com. I'll play around with that this afternoon and put those on there. And I want to get someone from some of these companies, especially the seed collecting companies and specialist native nurseries on the show. I've reached out to a lot of them and they've been favourable. It's just a matter of scheduling now, so we'll have some of those people coming on. Yeah, that's it. Chris, how are you, Chris? I've been making a real attempt not to swear so much, just for you, buddy. Okay. Homewood Land Care Plant Propagation Workshop. When? Saturday the 18th of November. Homewood Hall near Yea. Okay, that's the 18th. It'd be interesting. That might be when I might have something on then, but that would be very interesting. Chris, would you like me to put that on my website? And when I update later on, let me know. Yeah, just let me know. That sounds really good. Plant propagation is a bit of an art. Once you learn the technique, you can be really good at it. It's the same as plant pruning. Easy to learn. Once you get it and you're consistent, your results will be really good. So let me pop this up again, Chris. I'm going to. Oh no, I can't do that. Then I can't do it while I'm streaming. Pop that up again. Chris, do me a favour. Send the details, and if there's a link on the website or something, over to Grant at thebirdemergency.com. I can't copy and paste out of here, so that I don't make a mistake. If you can shoot an email through to Grant at thebirdemergency.com, means I'll get the details right, especially if there's a link. Can't go wrong being part of a land care group, by the way. Really, really, really worthwhile. I was a land care coordinator for a while, so it's great seeing people making the best efforts they can to preserve what they've got or to rehabilitate and to invite wildlife back in to farms or to neglected public land. Terrific stuff. All right, counting down. Oh, tell me another thing. Is the late start better than the early start? I just always thought the early start would be a better time for people who wanted to go out to the nursery. But maybe the later one's a better time. I'm flexible on all of this stuff because we're just starting. We're just starting, and we'll grow into the right time. And yeah. All right. Well, looks like we might be done. No more comments. Make sure you've got you've subscribed or following wherever you're doing it. Facebook, YouTube. Get the notification. Cup Day, 3:00 is the deep dive for birdwatching deep dive with Ricky. So that's 3 p.m. And I'm still waiting for some guests to lock in their times, but I think I'll start streaming at about 10 or 11 on Cup Day, and I'm just going to ignore what's going on, the reason for the holiday, and I just plan to have a bit of fun, and we'll do a lot of talking about birds and plants, and we'll be looking at a lot of things that other people are doing. I've been looking at some really great YouTube and Facebook people in the conservation space. So yeah, we'll be doing a lot of, I think they call it reaction streaming. Save my voice for such a long day and night, and as long as people are interested, excuse me, I'll keep going on Tuesday. So thanks for that tip, Chris, about the Homewood Landcare plant propagation workshop. I'm assuming that the aim is to propagate plants for the members of the group rather than be propagating for some market or plant sale down the line. Look, I might even contact Beck Bowles because we've got a week between then and now. Maybe she would like to talk to us. That might be good. All right. Well, Martin, Chris, is that all? Oh, and Shane, thanks for taking part this morning. Hopefully, I'm much happier with the way things are later on. It's awful when you spend a lot of money on something new and it doesn't do what you want it to do. That's horrible. Yeah. All right, folks. Happy gardening. And remember, I know I was looking up Bunnings, but if you have a local nursery that is not part of a great conglomerate, it's always a great idea to support them and tell them the kind of things that you would like or need, and generally they will do their very best to get what you need for you, or if they can't get it, they will help you find out where you can get what you need. I must say I'm a little bit shocked at the reduction in the range of things that are on the Bunnings website. So, yeah, really help out your local small business people. I would urge you to do that, and do get involved with the Landcare or Indigenous Flora and Fauna group if you've got one in your area. Okay. Happy Saturday. Have a great day gardening, bird nerds and plant nerds. See ya.